My name is Baldomero Longo. I'm the Chief International Officer here at Utah Valley University. That is such a great honor for us to welcome Dr. Efrem Yildiz Sadak. That is visiting from the University of Salamanca. Dr. Yildiz Sadak, he is the Vice President of International Affairs of the University of Salamanca. And I hope you understand that the University of Salamanca is one of the most unique and oldest prestigious universities in Europe. It was built at the same time as other universities like in Bologna, Italy, or Oxford in the UK. They just celebrated a couple of years ago the 800th anniversary. I remember when we were celebrating the 75th anniversary, 800th university. And interesting enough, Dr. Yildiz Sadak, he was the responsible individual to do all the major convocation celebrations and conferences during that time. Professor Yildiz Sadak is a world-renowned scholar. When you know that, besides being an administrator, he's also a world-renowned scholar in a very specific topic that probably, it blows my mind every time I read his bio or we talk about some of the research that he's doing. He's a full professor at the University of Salamanca. But let me brief you just recently on some of his administrative tasks as an administrator of the university, but he's also a professor at the university, right? So he has been the Vice President for International Relations for the past 6 years. From 2004 to 2010. And for the past 4 years, he's also been vice president. And at their university, those are not permanent appointments. So you have to be elected to be vice president of a university. Not like here, but if we call it vice president, they're vice president for as long as they want to be, right? So you have to run for an election, and it happened that just last month, on November 30th, he was re-elected again for 4 more years as vice president of the university. So congratulations again for that. He has also been a coordinator on graduate programs, but his primarily focus and emphasis deals with Aramaic languages and Hebrew languages. Okay, so he studies and researches the oldest languages clear back 3,000 before Christ. And he has done a lot of extensive work on that area, right? He's also a member of the executive board for the Coimbra University Network of 41 universities throughout the European Union. He has worked extensively on international relations. I want you to know, folks, that the University of Salamanca has more than 3,000 international agreements. Think about that. Over 3,000. I think UVU has 8. So we're working on it. So he's also a member of the European Alliance, which is a campus city university throughout the entire world, but also as a teacher, because he has been a professor for many years. He is a professor of graduate schools on Hebrew and Aramaic languages, as I mentioned, and works closely with the School of Philology, or the College of Philology, which is the College of Languages. So they have a very exclusive colleges where they teach
23 languages.
23 languages at that university. Okay? He also works closely on language, history, and literature, and Aramaic language and literature. He speaks how many languages? I'm sorry, Efrem.
I've never counted them.
He never counts them. But he was just recently at the University of the UK, and so he was talking about Aramaic languages and history, and a little smart aleck professor said, well, if you're talking about that, why don't you speak in Aramaic? Such an archaic, old language, right? Okay. All the lecture in Aramaic, and of course, 20 minutes into, of course, no one understood what he was saying. So he made a very sarcastic comment to the audience as well. What happened to Cambridge? I thought this was a better university. You don't speak Aramaic, right? So anyhow, he has done extensive research. He works very closely with many universities in Europe, and I think this is something of the topics that he's going to be presenting today. And so he has published and published and published extensively in his field of research. He has done research in the following languages, so for your information, in Aramaic, Classic, in Assyrian, Modern Assyrian language, in Hebrew. He also teaches Biblical Greek, and also he teaches English, German, Italian, French, among many other languages. And he also, you have taught not only biblical Hebrew, but also
Modern one as well, yeah.
modern. But you were telling me a little bit about, it was the Quran that you also have been teaching?
No, ancient history in that, yeah.
Okay, ancient history. But anyhow, what a great honor. Today is going to be talking to us about the challenges of higher education in Europe. And he will present a wonderful approach to some of the unification of universities in Europe, and then what are been some of the challenges and the perspective. I mean, what is looking forward at this collaboration among universities in Europe? Without further ado, my dear friend Efrem, is such an incredible honor to welcome you to Utah Valley University, to the School of Education. I want to make sure that I give thanks to the School of Education for this great opportunity to be here with you. So, thank you. Let's give it a hand.
Hello, I don't know what to say. Good morning or?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Your time is in there.
Yeah, this why. No, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. As you have realized, he's a good friend. No, in relation. Oh, sorry. We are used to talk even with the mask. So no, I'm happy and honored to be here with you, and also I'm thankful, especially to Professor Lago and my good friend Baldomero, to invite me and to give me the chance to talk about a topic which is becoming gradually an important issue for all the European universities. And well, it's a pleasure to be here with you, seeing young people listening to a topic which has to do, you will see, with what you are studying, researching, and so on. As Professor Lago has told you shortly, I'm professor at the university. I'm now dealing much more with the administrative issues, but at the same time, I have insisted to continue teaching, because we should never forget our raison d'être, being professors at the university. So I teach at the same time, not so many hours as usual, but in order to keep the contact with what is our vocation, I still teach the language and its literature for 4 or 5 hours per week. Well, and now when I was invited to give a short speech, I hope that we will be able to do it in a short time. I know that you are on hurry to going to the other class, and this is very typical. We usually take our hour, watch and see in order to respect the time. The University of Salamanca, before entering in the topic, as Professor Baldomero has said, it's a very ancient university, but it's not only ancient, it's also an ancient university with a historical seal wouldn't really be helpful if it wouldn't innovate, if it wouldn't be updated to the 21st century, let's say, exigencies. And this is why I'm happy to be, let's say, a part of this short steps we are undertaking. As you know, we do have at about 58 undergraduate degrees and 75 degrees, masters. More or less 62 doctoral programs and 132 let's say degrees which are not officially recognized by the state but by the university, so proper titles we are used to say. And we do have 27 faculties, and we had about 50 departments. We have all the branches of knowledge: humanities, sciences, medical sciences, pure sciences, and so on. So if some of you want to come and to share a while with us, for sure there will be a place where to fit in, or to be fitted in. And now, after this short introduction to the University of Salamanca, as you see, the European system has started a long time ago, but where really the people or the responsibles, the political responsibles, started to focus on how to get to materialize a common educational system, started, let's say, in the 70s, 80s, and then in 1999, for the first time, officially, the space of Bolognian law, I don't know what you have it about it? No? I mean, you are too far from here. This normal. Well, they agreed to create a whole common system, which is based on what we call is ECTS, European Credit Transfer System. What was the reason of this goal? The main reason was to have a common, let's say, credit system where the people, the European, they are different nations and different cultures and languages, where the hours and the methods and the contents of the courses were quite different. But at the end, they agreed to focus on the credits where each of the European students could then make a mobility, which then was counted on his own, let's say, curriculum, and which was recognized officially by the university where he has been studying. So in 1999, you will see this is the Declaration of Bologna, where you can see what I have been summarizing in a very short way, but you can see what was the main reason and issue of creating a common education, higher education system. Now the question, why Europe has insisted on a common education system? Germany, France, Spain, and so on, each of them are, let's say, culture, a society with different kind of thinking, but there was a common issue and concern that has been taken in consideration after the Second World War. They have learned that through education, the society can come better together. The society can then understand better each other. And probably this was one of the main reasons why Europe decided to have a common, at least a common education system that at the beginning was only drafted and worked by the politicians. They didn't count on let's say, on academic, they count on the academic part, but it was not a kind of decision maker group. Just they were consulted and the decisions were taken. So we realized when this Bolognian law was set at the universities, we saw that there were lakes. There were things that were becoming gradually a problem for us. How is the structure of the system? As the European continent is a huge one in culture and also in territory, two main possibilities were offered: 3+2 or 4+1, which means that there were countries who decided to adopt the 3 years undergraduate and then 2 years graduate for the master, and the others, like Spain, have adopted 4+1 because we considered that it was better to foster, to strengthen the basis, and then the master is only 1 year. But at the end you arrive to 240 ECTS, which means that every year you have to do 60 credits maximum. You have to have at least 30 in order to jump to the next year. But each year they are divided into, let's say, 4+1, 60, 60, and 60. At the end you arrive to 240, and then you jump, you have the access to the master, and from the master you can have the access to the doctorate level. But we saw that, the way how the system was structured, it was really complicated to put it in practice. Because imagine a credit is divided into 3 levels. three parts. The first part are 8 hours as you are here, face-to-face classes. 4 hours were for just consulting with the professor, tutoring the professor and the student, and 13 hours, let's say, private or homework work. But putting it on the way, in a practical way, we realized that it was really going to be hard for us. But at the end, we arrived to a conclusion that it was the best way to train the future generation as you are being trained here now. So this is the first stage. Now, after many years, the European Union has decided to do the next step. Because even we do have a common system, but each country has its own titles, degrees, and so on. And now, especially the idea started in 2017 with Macron, the president of France. He said we have to create some kind of alliances in order to improve the Bolognian system. And the universities immediately started working on the new, let's say, era where there is now the space for multilateralism. Until now, all the projects and the mobilities were, let's say, bilateral. We do have, in Salamanca, we do have 1,400 agreements only within the Erasmus Plus program with the European universities, but where the student could go to Germany or to France or to Italy or to any of European countries and have a stay of a year or 6 months, and once they come back, those courses that have been done or undertaken at the university, host university, were automatically recognized by the university where the student has been studying. And now, as you can see, the new European education policy has introduced some changes in relation to this point, where multilateralism is the key point. What does it mean? I'll show you through the alliance where the University of Salamanca is participating and is acting. Okay? Let's see. In 2017, President Macron announced the issue, and in 2020, we applied for different pilot projects where as condition was put the creation of the new alliances between different universities. At least 6 universities, in order to be recognized and to be funded. I mean, this consortium got 5 million euros in order to start working on the pilot project. And how does it function? This, as you can see, 7 universities: Poitiers, Coimbra, Salamanca. Poitiers is from Portugal, Coimbra, the coordinator university, is from France, Salamanca, Spain, Coimbra, Portugal, Iași, Romania, Jena, Germany, Turku, Finland, and Pavia, Italy. These are, let's say, the members of this alliance. And all these 7 universities, they share many values. It's not just a question because I like Professor Baldomero and I decided to make a kind of agreement with him, but we made a previous study in order to know what we had in common and what we could develop together. All the 7 universities have a huge experience as city universities. I mean, Salamanca is about less than 200,000 inhabitants, and 40,000 students are living there. You can imagine how the life of a student is in a small city. And this experience between the city and the university has been, let's say, our lemma. That's why European Campus of City Universities. And All of them, yeah, as you see, the total number of the students, we arrive at about 160,000 students. Why do I mention this to you? All the students have the chance to experience a unique academic life where they can study in different countries during their 4 years. And which means that they will get a European degree, which is, I call it always, beyond the national frontier. Multilateralism, they can get 4 titles at the same time. This means that from here to 2030, I'll come back to it, a European student who belongs to this alliance can have a kind of a curriculum à la carte. You know what it means? He can or she can choose the place where to study and the courses that are included in a whole system. Which are the advantages of such an experience? First of all, imagine Europe is a symbol for diversity. That is a sign of richness. You can learn the language, you can share the experience, and you can come back and produce. And let's say, produce those fruits that you have been acquiring during your experience that would at least be at 4 different universities. Because Europe has learned that the best way, as I told you before, where we can really talk about the European Union is through the education. There's no other chance. We don't have your mentality that you when you see the American flag, and that's for you the symbol, the reference. Europe has not the American flag in that sense. Now it's becoming one. We do have the European one, but it's mixed. The Germans have their own experience, the France, and so on, and all the 26 countries, they have a richness that can be somehow put and structured together through education. The future is based on that. We don't have any other chance because each country will defend their economical interests. But education can become the main point where people can come together, share together, and really believe in the European spirit. The mobility issues is one of the, let's say, the core of what we have been realizing. Thousands of European students have been exchanging from one country to other, and now there is a new generation, Erasmus generation, through marriages. After a year, the people met, they fall in love, and then a new generation is created. And this is why Europe has started investing in a decided way in education, and insisting and fostering especially the multilateralism. But this multilateralism is not only based on the experience of students, teachers, or professors, but it's also it belongs, in our case of our alliance, we include all those actors that are directly linked to the local, regional, national, and continental life. So we do have our regional government, which is included as partner. Because we deeply believe that the education is not just an issue between the walls of the university, but also the city, the region, the nation, and the continent must contribute to it. So we do have also different actors that are contributing to what we call a whole and complete education system. And this is why each of the universities has been offering different possibilities to those actors that belong to the city but are not directly linked to the university. That's why we call them associate partners. Now coming back to the main issue, but also this alliance, I give it, there are 17 and 24 alliances who are working on such multilateral activities, but our one, as you can see, is based on three main pillars. Innovation, or four, better said. Innovation, research, education, and of course service to the society, where I have been mentioning here the society means this is why the last associate partners are invited to participate as well as one of, let's say, actors in order to show that the education has no limits only, or is not only limited to the students and academic life, but also to the society. It must produce some effects upon the members of the society. Otherwise, I would consider it just a died education system. So, besides these pillars, then we asked ourselves, the seven members, where are we strong? How can we contribute to this pilot project? And as you can see, we decided to focus on three, Baldavedo, he could give us a huge and nice conference up in SDG, no? UNESCO. The main objectives we decided to work on are quality education, health and well-being, and the 11th one, which is sustainable cities and communities. As you can see, we have been really focusing on what is our vocation as an alliance. Quality education, health and well-being, and of course the society, the municipalities are an important part of all this process. But without specific proposals that wouldn't give any kind of effects. So this is why we have started working since we got founded by the European Commission, working on different parts of the project, and each of the university has started focusing on those elements that where we feel strong. You know? So we have created different working groups. Each group, each university must coordinate a specific working group where other 6 are participating. It doesn't mean that the university is now, University of Salamanca is quality education, no of other members are contributing to what we are going to offer. No, we are coordinating this working group, but with collaboration of other 6 members. The case is, for example, as result, we have started now, next year, we are going to launch a master in multilingualism, because our faculty is very strong in languages, in literature, in history. So we have proposed a totally new multilateral master according to what Europe is looking for, to offer a master that will allow the students who will be studying this master to stay in Salamanca, Jena, Poitiers, Coimbra, or Turku. They can choose. And this is the novelty of the new era of a higher education system. What is the main, let's say, reason of such a new policy? The main idea is to have, how many minutes do I have? 5?
No, 7.
Thank you. So, the main idea is to create new European titles, currently our diplomas are all signed by the King of Spain. Jose Antonio and Baldomero know well the system. From 2030 onward, the King of Spain probably is not going to sign any diploma. They will be signed by the European Commission. So we have a whole common, let's say, system that is now taking the next quality step, where we don't have Spanish students or German students or French students, we do have European students. And these students can then start working and studying in different universities according to their interests. Which means from 2030 onward, at least 20 new titles will be launched with this new system. This is going to be, let's say, of course, step by step. You can't change all of the titles at the same time. It would create a big confusion. But each university is going to propose will adapt their, let's say, degrees, undergraduate, graduate, and doctoral programs according to the new era. And they have started by this, let's say, system. 7 universities, 8 universities, 6 universities are working together in proposing new titles that will show to the European Union whether such a policy is feasible or not, whether it's possible or not. We know that it's possible, because all what we are proposing is based on our academic experience. So all what we propose here, if the master of, we do have also an aging cancer master, which will be launched next year. So we are working at different levels, not just in, let's say, in a humanity part, but we are working at different levels, and at the same time, how do you say in English, different fields of knowledge, where a scientific student can start studying in this way, or a student of philology or law or whatever. Yeah, exactly. The University of Salamanca is proposing, for example, the master of 30 degrees, 30 credits must be done at the University of Salamanca, and the rest of the 90 credits will be done among our partners, which means that the student of Salamanca can then go to France and stay and do other 45 or 60 credits, and then move to Turku, Finland, to do other 30, and so on. We have started this year giving 75 mobility grants to the students to start moving using this way of studying. We have also offered 42 research mobilities for the professors. The project is not only based on what the students are going to do, but at the same time also the professors must learn working together, must learn researching together, and for that we have created also virtual institutes. Let me see. Where research groups can start working together. Why virtual institutes? We have learned from COVID that we can even start working at the first level or at the first step in a virtual way, and then sharing our results through a congress or a seminar, doing it face to face. Why do we do this? Because we firmly believe that the teaching system must keep this face, this contact, this being close to each other, in this sense, we firmly believe that this is the best way to achieve better results. Because a shared experience is not the same, just we are, talking on Zoom or Blackboard and so on. So the Virtual Institute will combine both parts. First working and then sharing. This is why we do have also our virtual institutes. We do have also at the same time, indeed, 3 weeks ago, we had our third forum where 150 people, students and professors, came together to Salamanca, and we shared our results. At what point are we now, what we have been able to produce, and what we have to focus on. And this is why we make each, let's say, 6 months a forum in a different country. Next one will be in Pavia. The last one was in Salamanca, and so on. And this has a big advantage. We can share not only academic experience, but also life. This is, in my opinion, one of the best, let's say, practices that the project is focusing on. I have been giving you, and I could talk much more about what we are going to do until 2030, because we will have to now create a whole work system that must depart always from what the main goal is, doing common degrees together, creating common undergraduate and graduate degrees, and Europe will not allow any other chance to do it, let's say, in an individual way. On the other hand, Europe is investing at about 365 billions of euros only on education. And they are now offering through this new policy research projects. The last one we got is about 2 million euros, where these 7 universities are going to start working on sustainable cities, for example, innovation and research on sustainable cities. Because it's also an important issue that we have to focus on climate issues and so on. And we are and now the next step is also a new application that we will have to focus on different fields where we are creating working groups. This is growing. This is the first path that will allow the whole university participating in a pilot, for instance, in a pilot project, but then it will become a reference project for the European Union. And this is the aim, the reason of why European Union has insisted now to focusing on the alliances. And with this, I don't know, I'm going to just arrive to the end. You have a different system here. And sometimes we receive many people from the United States when they come and they study. A person who is studying engineering or medical studies and so on, they do also religion, history, and sometimes this creates a kind of disgusting arrival process where the student is totally lost. Europe has a very specific field where if you are studying history, you are focusing on history, and you are not doing religion and psychology and I don't know how many other courses. So, yeah. But we have become also conscious of the fact that this system should not only be kept only between the borders of the European continent, but we are now trying to take it far away. And probably South America is the next, let's say, partner that will adopt the European system. And probably next one, US, which has a very well-structured system, but will also for sure try to adapt also a European one to yours one. where we can also share this multilateralism, because the multilateralism should not be kept only between the borders of a continent, but this is the world society where you can really enjoy and profit of an experience. And I hope all of you are most welcome and warmly invited to come and to see how these classes and how these lectures are taken and given. And probably that would be next generation that will allow us to focus on not only on a European continent, but let's say on as a whole. No, the planet should learn through this way that there is a way of understanding, there is a way of enriching, and there is a way of learning and enriching. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Professor. I think we have like 2 minutes for some questions, if there's any questions. Yes, go ahead.
So a question for you, with your university programs that you do have, are there a certain set of requirements that you have to meet to be in those programs? So for like your history education major, you have to have a certain KCP score, or you have to have a certain grade point average to be in the program. Do you guys have those for your university programs?
So if I have well understood you, that what do you mean by
admissions into the program? Sí, cómo pueden entrar en la universidad.
Yeah, it's very easy to, first of all, in order to work with, let's say, a country or a nation which does not belong to the European Union, there is a first, let's say, agreement process, which we try to do it from university and to university. There are 2 ways, let's say. If the student, by her or by himself, wants to be enrolled in our study plans, what you need is the simple conditions of having finished your, let's say, secondary school degree and so on, and just you need to send your papers and you will be automatically admitted if you accomplish with, let's say, the basic rules. This is, let's say, the most simple way. And there is another way where the universities, this is why Professor Lago talked about 3,200 agreements, through which the universities try to focus on how they work together, where we can receive a student for a year, but the student is chosen by the university, there is an application process and so on, and then the student comes and studies for a year or the time that they have established. There are these 2 ways. Yeah, there is no problem to be enrolled in our educational system. It's very easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So Europe has regional differences, right, with a lot of different issues and problems that we're dealing with. I'm wondering, in the context of Eastern Europe, if you could speak about what are the obstacles that you face in integrating their higher education system with Western Europe, and how you imagine the IESE campus in Romania functioning as a way to resolve these issues.
Yeah, I mean, indeed, Iași, the University of Iași from Romania, is part of our alliance. Europe has learned that its system is not the unique one. Okay, this is the first step. Second part is how we can share our knowledge or the fields that we have created in our universities are similar or not. This was the main concern of the European higher education system. Most part of, let's say, Eastern European universities are part of this project. So they are not excluded at all. We have even those, let's say, countries like Turkey or other countries that are very close to Europe, but they don't belong to the European Union. They belong to the Erasmus Plus programs. So the Erasmus Plus program is huge in this sense, where each European, whether Western or Eastern country, they participate with the same rights as the rest of the universities. So their titles are recognized. They are submitted to a process in order to ensure that contents are guaranteed, but all of them, they participate within the Erasmus Plus programs, and there are different programs in that sense. Key Action 100, Key Action 2 from 2 until 188. There are so many programs through which the universities participate among the European, let's say, borders and outside the borders. Key Action 177 now allows to work with the US universities, South American, Korean or Asian, and so on. So it's not just a question of including the Eastern universities, but we have learned that we can learn from each other, and the best way is sharing, participating, and working together. Yeah.
So we're seeing in the US sort of a climate of corporatization of higher education. There's sort of businesses coming in and sort of changing what higher education is in the US. Is this happening in Europe as well?
No, thanks be to God, no. Our education system, especially the public one, we do have two different systems, the private one and the public one. The public one doesn't focus on what is profitable or not. So our mission is, our vocation is to focus on education. So whether it's profitable or not, this is not a question. We focus on the contents. This was the biggest mistake of the Bolognian, let's say, at the beginning, Bolognian law. All those, let's say, fields or degrees that were not profitable, in my case, Hebrew and Aramaic studies will never be an issue that you can have an investment. But education should not depend on whether you have a profit or not. The right to have the access to education is one of the most important for our 21st century society. And probably I'm talking about things that are going against some universities, let's say, vision in this relation, because they focus on what is profitable or not. For instance, we are saved in that sense. When we fight against those interests that they are trying to push forward in this way, but until now we have been successful to focus and to give and to provide all those actors, students, and the society members with an education possibility, whether it's profitable or not.
Well, thank you very much.
There was just a last question.
Oh, okay.
I wondered if you have a general language that you speak between the countries, how you overcome the linguistic barriers.
Yes, we are. This is one. Let's say English has become lingua franca. This is, and but we have learned that it's possible. If I can learn many languages, you can do it as well. And the best way is being in situ, we call. Sharing these values is not just a question of acquiring a methodology of study, but also getting in touch from according to their view, not yours, with a society, with a culture. So learning languages has become also one of, let's say, important issues. Indeed, Spanish is becoming, for example, in Germany. Now they have introduced it in the schools. So this is a chain of elements that without them you won't be able to be successful on what we are looking for. So this is why we teach 23 languages, not just as a course. No. Our students have the possibility to learn. Imagine if our students want to go to France, Italy, and Germany. They have their possibilities to study the language at the Faculty of Philology. We have also at the same time our language center, where you can have your official title, because you can't go to Germany without having at least B2. And if you have B2, you will be able to start and then enjoy the stay. So we have thought even upon this inconvenience at the beginning, but we have solutions for them.
Well, thank you very much. Did he speak a good English? I think you should hear him in Hebrew. I mean, that's or in Arabic or in German. Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Just give me 30 seconds here. Folks, he talked a lot about the collaboration with University Europeans and approaching the 2030 United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda, which implies those 17 goals. Folks, I just want you to remind you that we are holding at Utah Valley University the first academic international conference on the Sustainable Development Goals. It's happening here October 5th through 7th of 2022. We have done a call for papers. We have received over 300 proposals from 46 different nations around the globe. It's going to be a major event here on campus. Please take advantage. Take advantage because it's happening here at Utah Valley University. Registration is free. Think about that. You can build a nice resume by doing a publication, by doing a presentation here on campus under the umbrella of the United Nations. So anyhow, and last that I want to say is thank you to Dr. Efrem, Yildiz, Sadak.
Thank you for coming.
Today, he has taught us well, and for that, we'll just present him with a little award as our guest professor at Utah Valley University. So on behalf of Utah Valley University, I present you
thank you very
this
much.
wonderful award. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you for. I'll put it in my office.
Really, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I know you have a class in 5 minutes, so I'm mindful of your time.